Hi, I'm Ken Kersch with the Battleship New Jersey. I was on the ship during Vietnam, 67 to 69. As you can see, this was my work area, the machine shop, and currently we still use it making parts for the ship. I'm a manager of the overnight program, and please consider donating to the Battleship New Jersey. It's a nonprofit museum and memorial to the sailors that served on the ship. Thanks for your attention.
Hi, I'm Ryan Szymanski, curator for Battleship New Jersey Museum and Memorial, and this is Ken Kersch, who's an encampment manager for the battleship. In addition to that, he also volunteers here in the machine shop because he served on the ship from 1967 until 1969 as a machinery repairman. So this is his space, and nobody knows this equipment better than he does. This video is a sequel to the video on the machine shops we filmed a while ago. The link's in the description. And this one will go into much deeper detail of just the machine shop portion of those spaces.
Well, one of the first machines we're going to look at is a radial arm drill press. It's a very large drill press because there's nothing small on a battleship. Most drill presses that you use in the home, you move the workpiece underneath the drill and you drill it. On this one, we mount the piece down there and we move the drill. We can move the drill in and out, and we can swing it to line up where we want, and we drill the hole. Move it over to where the next hole is going to be, drill the hole. We have power feed down, and speed changes up here. This is an original piece of equipment that was on the ship since 1942. This is a Morris more speed. This is a Morris radial arm drill press, more speed. I don't know the exact model number, but it is from 1942. Here is a 36-inch vertical turret lathe. It's like a lathe that's stood on its end. One of the advantages of it is if you have a large pump body or large piece of equipment, you can set it on the chuck here and you don't have to hold it in place while you tighten the chuck up. You can have multiple tools in the turret here or the turret here. So you can have 4 tool bits in here and you can just turn it, select the tool bit you want. This arm goes in and out. This goes up and down. The turret here goes up and down and laterally across here. And to change the tool bits here, like we have a boring bar to bore inside of something right now, but if we need to do a surface cut, we change the tool bit. You see the tool bit here, and then we can cut across. It's got a belt feed for the upper portion of the machine. You got a cable here, well, that's a counterbalance for this. These are your speed controls down here, and this is your clutch right here to engage and disengage the spindle here. You have power feeds. You also have manual feeds. Both places, power feeds also. It's made by the Bullard Company. And it's a vertical turret lathe, 36-inch chuck. This is a Lodge & Shipley 25-inch gap lathe. Now, what do I mean by a gap lathe? All right. If we have very large pieces that are too big to swing over the bed, this is the bed of the machine, we can take the section from here to here out. And it gives us a bigger area to swing the piece of metal or pump body or whatever we're working on here. That's why it's called a gap lathe. We have this gap here. A lathe does basically multiple things. Put a piece of metal in there and you turn it down. Here we have a pump shaft. We have threads here. We have a bearing surface. Different steps. We have right hand and left hand threads here. We have a live center in the back there. By a live center, it's got a ball bearing and it rotates with a piece of metal. And we made numerous pump shafts on board the ship. We rebuilt pumps. We machined valves. We had upwards of 8 people working in here at various times. We've made gears. We've made anything you can think of for the ship. Parts for the guns. Whatever they broke, we made or fixed. Now people ask if the machines still work. Not all of them have been reactivated. I've reactivated a number of them, but not all of them. I don't need them all today. But yes, they do work. There you can see that it's working. And this is how we would machine parts. We have tool bits here. Put the tool bit in here depending on what you're doing, whether you're threading, machining a surface or whatever. And you put the tool bit in there. Put it in, lock it in place. This moves across, slide in and out. This moves the saddle back and forth. There is power feed on both of those, so you don't have to turn the handles. You can activate the power feeds with one of these levers here. That's basically the lathe. Again, Lodge and Shipley, 25-inch gap lathe. Original to the machine shop when the ship was built, 1942. This machine is an open side planer, and you can even see the date on here, 11/26/42. It's made by the Rockford Machine Tool Company. And we had it on the ship. As you can see, it's original. But I only used it twice in my whole career on the ship here. What this does is you bolt your piece of work to this table. And when you activate the machine, this table slides back and forth, back and forth. And your tool bit is right here. Now when the table goes this way, it cuts. But when it comes back, the work lifts this up, it drags across the work, goes back into position, and when it goes this way, it cuts again. And you hear this all day long. Again, you have feed here, raise this up and down, feed over there, moves it back and forth, and you have power feed on both that. On the front here, as soon as I get around it, you have a place to hold the tool bit here. Tool bit goes in here. This goes up and down, and this goes in and out. And there's power feed on both of those also. So you can cut on the side of your metal or on the top of your metal. You can make slots with this. If you have a big block and you need to put a slot, it's good for that. But we never used it very much. It's not activated today. It would take 52 gallons of hydraulic oil, and we don't need the expense to activate this machine. All right, in the 1980 refit of the ship, they added a Bridgeport universal vertical mill. Very versatile machine. Can do a lot of things with it. Here you can see I've got a project set up that I'm drilling. Okay, some people think it's nothing but a glorified drill press. That's not true. To machine metal, you use an end mill like this. It's sharp on the sides. It'll cut metal on the sides. It'll cut metal on the flat side here. And that would fit in where the drill chuck is. You got movement this way. You got movement this way. This machine, particular machine, does not have power feeds. This head will rotate if you have to drill at an angle or mill at an angle. It'll also tilt backwards and forward. This machine is equipped with a digital readout. So if you move the table, you can see the numbers change down to a half a thousandth. This whole head will move in and out, and it'll rotate. On the back side of this machine, you can put a shaper attachment, which we have in another part of the ship in storage. Table, the knee here goes up and down. Very versatile, very nice machine. All right, this is a dual grinder, surface grinder. When I demilled the ship in the 80s, they really screwed up this machine. They cut the cables. Parts of it aren't here. I'm not sure this wheel is safe to spin. I would have to take it off and test it first. But this is a magnetic table. And you would put the steel there, turn the magnet on, and it holds it in place. And then this table goes back and forth under the wheel. And you can move the table in and out this way. You can move the wheel up and down this way. And it gives a very nice finish. And when you have super hard metal that you can't cut with something else, with a mill or a drill press, you can put it on here and grind it nice and flat. This used to be in the tool crib in the 60s. They moved it out here in the 80s. But this is the same machine, so I believe this one is the original machine. Looks like it, and I don't see a date on it. This is just the power supply for the magnet. And it doesn't have a date on that either. This is a model D8 made by the DeWalt company.
Cool. What's that?
This is a Drake hydraulic press. I believe it's 80 tons. This was not on here in the 60s. We had a different one. It was an 80 ton, but it was a little smaller than this. And it was located over where the Bridgeport is. But this is just a manual hydraulic press. This is adjustable up and down. You can move the shaft in and out. It is not operational today. I have not worked on this one yet. But this one was put on in the 1980 refit of the ship. All right, throughout the shop, you've seen this yellow I-beam over all the machines. As I said, there's nothing small on the Battleship. Everything is fairly heavy. And moving it around is difficult. So they put this IBeam Trolley system in, and we have a chain hoist that runs on it like a track. Now you see this one comes, turns, comes from the passageway over there, down. It goes all the way through the power shop into the weld shop. Now you see this one ends right here. Well, how do we get from here to here? Well, right here to right here is a curved piece. Now this is painted in, but when we're on the ship, you just lift this out. There's a straight piece right here on the bulkhead. We take that straight piece and we put from here to here. So we'll take the stock out of the stock room, run it down here, around here, get the trolley over here. We'll take this out, we'll put that piece in, we'll bring the trolley down here, and we can bring it into this shop. Now this goes right over top of the entrance to engine room number 2. So if we're bringing a big valve or motor up from engine room number 2, we hoist it up with the chain hoist on the trolley, and then we can move it around to wherever we need to go. But that's what these I-beams are for. It's for moving equipment around so we don't strain ourselves. Now another question that comes up, because the trolleys go through the doorways, and some of the doorways you see the trolley connected. Well, how do you close the door? They're watertight doors. Again, there's a section, and you can see it's missing here, from here to here. And here's the piece that would go in here. And maybe during normal work days we'll have it in there moving stuff back and forth. But if it comes time to close the watertight doors, we lift it out, we put it there, and it's got the dog in the wrong place. We can close the watertight doors, but still we can use the trolley with the door open. All right, in this side of the shop, we have 4 lathes. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a Sydney 16-inch lathe. It's original to the ship from 1942. Again, a lathe is very basically the same as the big lathe over there. It's just got a different type of tool post. Again, the cross slide, the saddle, speed controls, clutch to engage it. Does basically the same thing, it's just a little smaller. This machine has not been activated. All it would take is a flushing, lubrication, a little cleanup, and it would be operational. Why are there so many lathes on the ship? As I said, there were probably 8 people working in here. There's a lot of stuff that breaks. Ship has, I don't know how many thousands of valves, hundreds and hundreds of pumps, and everything else. They all break. Steam valves were the biggest thing we had to machine because the steam eats through the valves. And we would have different guys on different lathes doing different jobs. I mean, there's not just one guy in here. There's 6, 8 guys working at any given time on various machines to keep up with the work. The shop was manned 24/7 while we were underway. Another thing that we made in here was zincs. Zincs are a little piece of zinc metal with threads on them. They put them inside pumps and stuff, and they're sacrificial. Instead of eating away the body of the pump or the piece of equipment, the zinc deteriorates and we have to make new ones. So all that was done in here. And that's why we had so many lathes. Now, in this shop, there was another Sydney lathe exactly like this sitting over there. It was replaced by the Standard & Moore lathe in the 1980s. Now understand the logistics. They took a lathe this size out and they brought that lathe down through the doorways on this ship. The lathe in the back, again, is a 14-inch lathe. It's a Sydney, but it's got a shorter bed. And there was another one of those sitting here in the 60s. That, again, was taken out, and this lathe was brought in the 80s. And we'll go over those 2 machines, but the Sydney back there is original to the ship in 1942. This is a Milwaukee Universal Mill, a 2H. It's got the vertical head on it right now. This is original to the ship. You can do a number of things with this. You can see the 2 rams out the back. You can put the rams out and have a cutter that goes in. You can use end mills in here like this. This rotates, this rotates. It does a lot of the things that the Bridgeport does, except the Bridgeport's a lot easier to use than this machine. Table moves back and forth, in and out, up and down, the same as a Bridgeport. It's got power feeds, which the Bridgeport doesn't have. That model doesn't have it. Speed selector. This is an indexing head. If you have to put holes in something like this, you got to space them. What you would do is put it in the indexing head. There's a handle back here. That rotates it. And there's all different holes, and there's a formula for figuring out how many holes you have to go between each one on the faceplate over here. And that's how you would index something like that. We also used to make gears on this machine. This was one of the machines that we made the gears on, at least in the 60s. We made numerous gears for after steering, for the radar antenna, and for the radar controllers. Again, this is just a bigger lathe, more modern. It's got digital readout. A lathe is a lathe, basically. 1986 model machine. It's a model 2080. It's hard to read that label. But this machine is up and running. This is activated. This lathe is activated. We have a pedestal grinder over there for grinding tool bits and stuff like that. This is a 10-inch Monarch lathe. And you can see I have a project set up in this machine because this one's working too. And just to show you, again, this has got a collet in it. We can change this. We can put a 3-jaw, 4-jaw chuck on there. Tailstock on a lathe. You can put a drill chuck in here for drilling holes in it. Again, the cross slide, compound, and the saddle move. Back here we have a workbench. We have a little drill press. You can see we have various chucks and tooling hanging around. Gives us a pretty good shop. There's not too much that we couldn't do here. When we were in Vietnam, we were also taking jobs from other ships. Example, the USS Buck had a problem with their high pressure air compressor. They couldn't repair it on their ship. They pulled alongside out in the ocean, and we did a high line transfer between ships. They brought it on board here. We repaired it. They came back alongside, high lined it back to them, and then they were able to get their compressor running again without going back to the yards, back to port or back to the yards. So we did do work for other ships. Most ships do not have a machine shop like we have here. These were made in 1968. They were used in the captain's cabin. This is the original one I made in the 68. I am currently making them today. They start out as a block of brass like this. Do some machining. This is done on a lathe. All of this machining is done on the Bridgeport. Then they come out like this. These angles are all cut on the Bridgeport. The barrels are done on the lathe. This gets polished up. This is tarnished from the 60s. And then we press fit the barrels in there. And we have a little turret. It was a place marker in the captain's cabin.
Okay.
I made one also for the wardroom. And it was called the Buck. And I'm not fully sure. It was passed from person to person or table to table to see who gets served first. It's called passing the buck. And they didn't want a fancy napkin holder or something else. They wanted one of these. So we made one for them. And they would just pass this around. But it's just a decoration. It's not anything for planning or strategic planning or anything like that. No, we do not sell them in the ship store. We do not sell stuff we make in the machine shop here. There's just too much time involved in them, and I couldn't make enough to sell.
Thanks for the information. That was Ken Kersch, Encampment Manager for the Battleship. Thank you guys for watching. Battleship New Jersey receives operating support from the New Jersey Department of State and from numerous other donors, including viewers like you. Thank you for your continued support. If you like what you saw and you'd like to help continue to support the channel and the museum, there's a link in the description for ways you can donate. Have you ever used any equipment like this? Let us know in the comment section down below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. We try to create new content several times a week. So if you want to be notified when new stuff comes out, that's how you do it. Thanks for watching.